You are listening to the Lawyer Stories podcast with host Benny Gold. Lawyer Stories was founded in July 2017 on Instagram and is an expanding global network of lawyers and law students sharing their personal journeys to the noble profession of the practice of law. Join us on this podcast as we dig deeper into these stories and hear from lawyers and law students from around the world in all areas of the legal profession. Here at Lawyer Stories, we believe that every lawyer has a story. What's yours?
Welcome to the Lawyer Stories podcast with Benny Gold. Today we welcome in Skylar Worthington, LEX Reception Operations Leader. Skylar, how are you? Good to virtually see you.
You as well. Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we're very excited to be sort of partnering up with LEX Reception, and we appreciate their sponsorship. We're just going to give you a little blurb about LEX. LEX is less admin, more time for you. Switch off knowing your calls are covered by LEX Reception. From answering calls and messages in real time to appointment scheduling, your clients will receive the care and support they need with LEX Reception. Their legal answering specialists are on hand 24/7, so you're never going to miss a call for a future case. With custom scripting and software that can seamlessly integrate with your current workflow, LEX will make sure every potential client gets fantastic service from the very first call. And because of this sponsorship, and we're partnering, Lawyer Stories listeners are going to receive $250 off their first month of service. So there's no better time to get started. Hit me up if you guys want the link. That's a little blurb about our new partner, LEX Reception. We're so excited to offer an efficient and a very nice service to the Lawyer Stories community. I'm happy to answer any questions. Skylar, very, very, very good to see you. Thanks again for coming in. And welcome to the Lawyer Stories podcast.
Thank you.
All right. So Skylar, like we like to go through the story of our guests. So why don't you just give us like a little brief background, like born and raised?
So I was born in Austin and moved to Houston when I was very young, and Houston has been my place. So I have stayed here. My family kind of moved off to Colorado, and I would love to live there. The snow is not my thing, so the warm weather is where I stayed.
Understand. So you're not a skier, and you used to keep Austin weird, right? That's their saying. Keep Austin weird. Houston's pretty
Yes.
cool. I've been to two cities in Texas, but
Mhm.
not. I haven't been to. I don't think I've been to Houston. So you've been. Let's talk about Lex. So you've been there for about 4.5 years. Why did you go to Lex Reception?
Yeah, it's really funny because I was not looking for Lex Reception at all. I just found it by chance. I thought this would not be a job that I hold. I was trying to finish college and figure out what my career was going to be and what I was passionate about because I was not sure like what that looked like for me. So I was lost in just going to school to figure out what that was going to be in my future career. So I had found Lex and I told myself I'm only going to be here for 6 months. I'm going to take the calls and that's it.
That's it. You're gonna
And
decide what else you're gonna do while you take calls for 6 months. Boy,
yep.
I've told some employers that in my past, and I'll tell you, 6 months turns into 2 years. But I'll tell you, I mean, we're gonna hear about Lex. Not only do they offer fantastic service to attorneys, very important. Um, okay, go on. So you said you were gonna only be here for 6 months. You turned to your coworkers and you're like, that's it, guys. I don't want to be your friend. I'm not looking to make friends.
No.
I'm looking to be virtual buddies. I'm out of here in 6 months, y'all.
Yep, and I told my boss that she was like, "Do this." I said, "No, I'm leaving." But instead, my timeline slowly started to
Yeah.
disappear.
Yep.
I did find an environment that really facilitates ongoing learning and people who would advocate for me and support me to say, "Oh, you should apply for leadership positions." And I was like, "Me? You want me to do it?"
Yeah.
But you could see everyone there really works for something that truly matters. And so I started out just taking calls. So I was one of the Lex receptionists helping our clients. And After kind of starting from Lex calls, I went through like multiple positions through my journey, and
Right.
I realized that now I have the opportunity to lead the brand. And for
Amazing.
me, it's not like a set title of what a career looks like for me anymore. It's more of the type of leader that I want to be in a place that allows me to, be that person I want to be. So
That's,
they
that's great.
they got me.
Congratulations. So you saw
Yeah.
yourself like moving quickly through this company. You were a receptionist. So tell us, you actually, so this is very important actually because you're not just some big wig that comes over to a company, and you are somebody who has worked in the weeds of like receiving the phone calls, and you know what it's like down there. You know the service that Lex Reception is going to provide to the attorneys that you're servicing. So like tell me like
Yeah.
about being or like in the reception department. Like tell us like what the most important things are when somebody calls in, and their attorney is not there like overnight. Obviously it's not a 24/7 operation, but you kind of make that. Lex Reception makes a
Right.
24/7 operation. So tell me what the service is like.
Yeah, so whenever we answer calls, it's for a lot of different clients. So the calls can range from, criminal, personal injury, anything that you can think of. We've heard every scenario that's come through, and our clients kind of get to choose what they want for the service. So during the sales process, we ask, what are you struggling with? What are you looking for? What problems can we help fix for you? Because we've seen all walks of small law firms to really large law firms.
Okay.
And when we get the calls, we have like basic messaging. So some just want us to keep it really short, name, phone number. We're going to be here to help you. Pass this over to the attorney. They'll get back to
So
you.
that's the client's request. So your client, like a
Mhm.
law firm, might just say, "Hey, Skylar, I want you and your team to just get the name, the message, and then we'll tell them we'll get back to them between the hours of like 9 to 5."
Yep. Yeah. So that's some of ours. So just want it to be really quick.
Right.
Some want us to qualify leads. And so we ask questions on, if personal injury is one that just comes to my mind because there's a lot of questions on, qualifying what type of case the attorney is going to accept. Some
Okay.
say we accept everything. Some say we only accept these specific cases. So we can ask whatever questions you need us
Gotcha.
to ask the caller, like, what are you needing? And sometimes we let them know we refer. Sometimes we let them know, hey, I'm sorry, this isn't a case that we can help you with, but if you leave your email, we can get you referred over to somebody. And some we always like send over to the client if they just want to double check to make
They
sure
want to
it's
double. So like, does that get difficult to say like, okay, this isn't a case that the client would want, or is that really cut and dry? Would you say?
so the only time that it's a little bit more difficult is when we ask a lot of questions and then we say, we're sorry, we can't help you. But most of our scripts are just maybe 3 or 4 questions. And I think that our callers are really receptive to that because they've been calling through a lot of places and maybe after hours, like when they get home from work, they're calling, I need an attorney. And so
Right.
they just kind of want that answer of, oh, they can help me or they can find someone to help me.
And how far does Lex Reception go? Like, pardon me, like you get a call from somebody who needs an attorney, they get in a car accident, they're looking for somebody like late at night. They
Mhm.
call somebody that they see like on Google or whatever, and then they get Skylar. And like how far can you take that case? Like what is Lex's duties there? I know you said you ask some questions. You might, depends on the firm, right? You might only ask like a few questions based on what the client wants, or you can take it a little further and see it qualify the case. How is there anything further? Like, do you do any more than that?
We do schedule appointments if they are wanting us to do that, but we kind of stop there at like asking the questions and getting the information over. So our goal is to really filter the type of callers that our client wants to receive because when we get into the like legal advice, that can be a
Right.
little tricky and we don't want to misstep or be in the wrong place of giving legal advice and we didn't go to law school and we don't have that
Right. Well, no, I think
knowledge
that's
and
very
skills.
important. And the
Mhm.
reason why I asked, because I know that there's a lot of virtual assistant um, companies out there, right?
Mhm.
Like, and so I'm just trying to distinguish between Lex Reception and what you do, because it is very important.
Yeah.
Intake is like so important. I've had like over 100 attorneys on the podcast now, and I've learned that intake is super important. You need somebody who's, compassionate, empathetic, can take the call, can put them in the
Yes.
right place, like cares that the person got injured. And so
Mhm.
you're doing that, but you're not like I want to just distinguish it from like a virtual assistant.
Yes. So what the difference is that our associates are very used to taking these types of calls. So, like criminal lawyers call around the clock, immigration and family lawyers, we receive those really sensitive calls and they need to be handled quickly.
Yep.
So, whenever they call in, we're used to hearing that legal terminology. We actually have a dictionary for all of them
Oh,
with
nice.
legal words, and they reference different case types and different verbiage so they know what to select and how to get it over to the client. Um, Sometimes like it can be difficult for a answering service that doesn't know a lot about the industry because they just don't know those keywords. Especially for me, we went through a lot of training as an associate in the beginning trying to learn what those different call types were. A new
Right.
client is someone who calls in and they have a new case, but they could have been an existing client, but they're
Right.
calling as a new one for this case. So just like those little key things that
Right. So
you learn.
are you familiar with virtual assistants? Assistants. I don't know. Are you? If you're not, that's okay. But I know that they base. Law firms will hire them to do I don't know, maybe like some paperwork, like like some phone calls, but do
Mhm.
like different things. I think like so. I just want to make the distinction because I think it's very important, like what you're doing,
Yeah,
um, rather than having a bunch of virtual people sort of doing these different tasks that were maybe like a paralegal would do,
right.
whatnot.
Mhm.
So okay, so that's
I
good.
think
I
that
don't
is
mean to
important
confuse
to
you. I'm
know.
sorry, Skylar. I don't mean.
No, it's okay. I think it's good to that you clarified that though, because we in the sales process, we try to be very transparent that we are not like someone who's trained in your office. Like we can answer all
Right,
those questions like a paralegal would. And what we're trying to find out is like different from each client because just they all like range in their different requests. But I do think it's important because we don't go that extra mile, like filling out paperwork, sending documents over, getting emails, and going
right.
back and forth. It's really just that intake, making sure that those calls are picked up and they're not calling to the next law firm because you didn't answer.
Right, right. So great. That's great. So how many people are you like overseeing right now as like operations chief over there?
So our team is pretty big, and we have about, I would say, 100 like client service team
Wow.
members, and sales team members are about in the 100 range as well.
Wow.
On our CX side, we have about 1,000 like associates like who are trained in like answering those calls. So we
1,000
always,
associates? What's that customer service?
yes.
Wow.
Mhm.
That's unbelievable. You
Yeah.
got over 1,000 employees?
Yeah. Lex is pretty awesome, and you would not believe how happy people are like working from home and like taking calls. And
Yeah.
we, just like me, it's so funny because every time we get someone new, they say, I'm not going to be here. I'm like, okay.
Right, right,
I
right.
said the same thing. But it's really cool because you see a lot of associates who take calls. We really hire internally. So every person who you are on a sales call with, or when you call in and you need help with your account, they've taken calls before. So they know what to expect and kind of give you a realistic expectation of what that call is going to look like.
Now, do you get people who are calling in with panic? Like really like, oh, like I need a lawyer, like, whoa, I need, are you training your associates on how to handle like these people who are like definitely hitting a tough patch in their lives?
Yes, so learning is really big in our organization, especially with callers who are escalated. We have a lot of resources for them to help kind of navigate through those because we do receive very sensitive calls, very escalated calls. Sometimes they call and something just happened, like they just got in a massive like
Right.
domestic violent situation with their spouse and they're calling because they need a divorce and they don't know what to do with their kids. And those can be really tough to listen to, especially when you might have received your last call like that as well. And we really focus on mental health, that balance with our associates scheduling. So they come in when they're ready, like to work. And we do also have a lot of resources for them to kind of have counseling opportunities, employee resource groups, so they can have that support throughout the day.
Okay. And you only get calls from people who are calling a law firm, right? Like if they're calling a law firm and the law firm has you answering their phones after hour, those are the people who are calling you, right? Not people looking for a lawyer.
So we specialize in legal calls, so that can range from anything that they're looking for. And we also do accept clients who are outside of the legal field. If they do come across to us, like some dentist appointments, doctor's appointments, we
Okay.
assist, but majority is the law firms. And it can be anything from new clients, existing clients, maybe looking to like dial out to people and see if they're interested in the services, those type of.
Gotcha. Okay.
Mhm.
Um, does anybody ever call you who needs a lawyer?
Yes, a lot of people do call because they need representation immediately. A lot of the times, our calls, the caller has just been in a scenario and they're going through that Google list trying to figure out who can help them
Yep.
right now.
Yep. Okay. So, what is it like working remotely? Like for a company that has employees like all over the world. Like, what's that like?
So it's really funny because you would think everyone's very distant because you don't have that connection in office. You don't get to see the little things that people do throughout the day. But we have like our teleport services. So it's kind of like Zoom.
Hmm.
And we have a lot of meetings throughout the day and we stay connected over our chats. And I always crack up because there's some people that I've worked with for 4 years. I've never met them in person. We
Right.
go to a meetup and meet in person. We run and hug each other
Yeah,
like we've been
that's like
friends
lawyer
forever.
stories. That's like lawyer stories.
Yeah.
I have like Instagram friends that like I haven't
Yeah.
met for 5 or 6 years, 4 years, and I see them. People who've been on my podcast. It's a real
Yes.
thing. I feel it. It's a real thing. These
Yeah.
virtual friends. It's like, and then they're actually there in real life, and you're like, whoa, you do exist, right?
Yes. Right. The first time I went to Canada, I was meeting my boss there and we were texting. I was like, where are you at? I honestly thought, I was like, am I going to recognize her like in the flesh in person? And we saw each other, ran from across the airport, gave each other a hug. This lady stopped and said, oh, how long have you known each other? Like,
Huh.
oh, this is our first time like we're meeting. She was like,
It's so funny.
oh, that's
So
weird.
funny. Yeah, it's the
But it
world today.
was.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's really nice working from home. And I one of the main things that really, and you can probably relate to this too, because you speak to people all around the globe, we find some of the best talent because we have such a large pool to pick from, and we're not just stuck to only the people in Houston or only the people in Portland. Like we have
Right.
everyone in the United States, like Canada,
Yep.
like we have UK and our team members in Chennai. So we just have such a large like group of talent to select from, and it really makes us great to me because you can go to people who have the answers for you, get different perspectives, learn about different cultures, see how everybody kind of works a little bit differently, and it's really nice.
Yeah. No, that's totally awesome. Scholar, I don't know why I'm coughing so much tonight. I apologize. I
You're
just
good.
Lex Reception. Just I don't know. All right.
It's
Anyway,
the cold season. Do you see why I don't like the
thank you.
snow?
Thank you for the excuse. Yes, it's cold season. That's right. Um, so tell us about your job. Like, what does your role as operations leader entail?
My main focus is to grow our brand, and that is two things that we look at is one, are our people happy, our employees happy, because they all have to be bought in every single day and cared for to want to give that service to our clients. I think we've all had a story of where we've been somewhere and not treated well, or maybe just it was subpar and we
Sure.
just didn't have a great experience. But when you have people who you have a connection with and you're excited to be here, they have these great things that they're looking to see you do, is really whenever you find that talent, people really showing that grit, impact players kind of seeing what they can bring to the table. So I would say that's a really big part of my role, is making sure that everyone does feel cared for. Leadership is motivating and inspiring like our people
Mm.
to be a part of our mission. So that's one side. And the other side is looking at maybe things that are externally like outside of our company. What are our competitors like doing? What's innovative? What's new? What are our clients looking for? One big thing I love doing is going on Trustpilot, and I scroll like through our reviews for hours, just seeing like what our clients are saying,
Really?
submitting feedback to our team of, hey, this client wants this, can we add it? They want this to our app, or this person, did kind of not have the best experience. Like, how can we reach out to them, make it better, help them understand like maybe like where we could have done better, or what went wrong, or what conversations weren't had. So looking at, you know, the negative and the positive,
Yeah.
because
Yeah,
you
that's
kind of need
important.
to know like what some people don't like. It's not everyone's gonna like you. I had to
Right.
learn that really hard way,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
um, yeah, you can learn a lot from them. So that's kind of, I'm kind of broad with it because it's really different every single day and kind of just where team Lex needs me.
Right. So like you're not doing phone calls anymore though, right? I'm guessing like are you still taking phone calls or are you just more doing like quality assurance, that sort of thing?
Yeah, so I don't take phone calls anymore. I do try and go back, and we call them vintage calls. So maybe clients who have signed up a while ago who said they're not ready just yet. I will
Gotcha.
call out to
Yeah.
them just so I can remember how to be a salesperson,
Yeah.
remember how to
Gotcha.
do the
Yeah,
role.
that's great.
But
I-
daily, no, I don't really take calls. Just listening to the calls, being in meetings, like hearing what's going on. It's new every single day, especially some clients come in and they maybe had an answering service before and they know exactly what they want, or they're requesting something that we haven't done before. So
Mhm.
kind of looking at how we can look into that, or say maybe we have to work on that before we can take you on.
Yeah, no, and I could tell the passion too. I could tell you're probably doing an excellent job with Lex
Thank you.
Reception. And I just want to also, at this point, I hope she hears it, give out a shout out to Amy too over there, who's been
Yes.
awesome as well. The whole Lex team has been fantastic to work with as our relationship and grows with Lex Reception. We're happy to have it. So, okay, we're not done yet. I got more questions. I got more questions.
Yay.
I
No, I
thought
don't
I'd
want to
just take a
leave.
minute. I thought I'd take a minute to give a shout out to Amy.
Yeah.
So, so tell us about the clients that you're serving. Like who generally are you serving, and like where are they located?
Everywhere and everyone. We will accept kind of anyone. We kind of go through a list of what we can offer and kind of make that decision from there. But if we were to focus in like one space, it probably would be smaller law firms who are growing. So they're at the point where they actually, I was watching Laura's episode, and a part of there, she said at her last law firm, she was doing so many different roles. She was like HR,
Yeah.
intake, taking calls, and it's really for lawyers who have kind of grew their company, but they need more people at this point, and we want to grow with those businesses. I'll never forget. There was this one sales call, and it was 4 hours long, and I saw the time, and I was like, "Why did it take so
Wow.
long?" So I
Yeah.
go and listen to it, and our poor client, the whole time, he was like, "Hold on 1 second, somebody's calling me." So he would like place us on hold, pick up the phone call, take their intake down, and then he would come back to us.
Okay.
And when you see that struggle of how can he even do like the real lawyer work, like researching, getting prepared for a case, I can't imagine what his evenings and his weekends look like, just picking
Right.
up the phone as much as he was. And
Right.
I, haven't sat around to see if he's like still taking calls all day, but I know just in my heart that he's not doing that. And it makes me so
Yeah.
happy that he can really focus on like what he went to like school, what he went to law school to do.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's awesome. I mean, I think more and more attorneys are seeing that they have to sort of dish off stuff that a they might not like want to do or like have their time value for. You know what I mean? So like
Right.
they want to get rid of those tasks and give them to somebody who could handle them probably 10 times better. And it sounds like you guys are over at Lex are very equipped to do that. So I noticed that Lex has legal script templates. So
Mhm.
what are those?
So our legal script intake is going to start off by asking the caller, thank you for calling Ben's law firm. How may I help you? And then we get the name, phone number, and we have a couple different options they can select from. So are you a new existing client? So new client, we kind of start from there. So the template is, what do you want us to ask? Do you just want us to get their contact information, or do you want us to ask those qualifying questions? And then we have the existing call type. So if they are already a client, they've already worked with someone, they don't have to go through that entire intake process. They can just get to whoever they need to speak with. And then we also have the option to do a specific person. So if someone calls in and says, hey, I want to speak to Ben, I can say, okay, may I have your name? May I have your phone number? You can decide if you want us to ask them any questions before patching the call over to you. And then if you're available, we'll connect you. If you're not, we'll send you over a message. So that's
Got it.
kind of what our basic scripting will look like.
That's awesome. So you really custom tailor it to like whatever the firm needs.
Yeah, and we found that that's really successful for us because we know that these law firms are their baby and they don't want to give it up. And your reputation is so important. And if someone doesn't handle like your calls with passion and care, it really can, destroy like what you've built and
Sure,
what your firm is, because
sure.
reputation is so important. So it's really making sure we have like the scripting to support our associates to be like what they're expecting.
For sure. So like how important do you think it is to get calls 24 hours a day for your clients?
I would say extremely, extremely important. So 25 like percent around there of Lex clients call after hours. And that is something we really focus on because, like kind of I was saying earlier, whenever someone's looking for an attorney, they're probably calling when they get off of work. So they're just going through that list. And whenever someone doesn't answer, they hang up and they call the next person. They hang up until they can reach someone, especially if they're in that heightened state of, I need to speak to someone
Mhm.
right now. And that is something that's really important. And especially with the holidays, a
Yeah,
lot of our clients think that the calls completely stop, but we still receive about,
24/7, 365, right?
yep, 25 to about 50% of our clients still have the same call volume like on those holidays. So it's really important that we answer those calls because you could lose thousands of dollars just by not picking
Sure.
up that phone call immediately.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And where do you take calls for law firms like all over the world?
Yes. So anyone who calls in, we really kind of focus like in the US, Canada, and UK is like
Okay.
where a lot of our clients are at.
Okay.
But yeah,
That's amazing.
yeah.
So Lex has like an interesting company culture. And this is something that I thought was like super interesting. I don't mean to put you on the spot with this. I
That's
don't
okay.
like to do that with my guests. Um, but I read about like you love to read as a team.
Yes,
Okay, so can you talk
we
about
do.
that a little bit? Like you love the book 4,000 Weeks, which talks about your limited time on Earth and how we choose to spend it, and another is impact players and the importance of uplifting these team members in your organization. You don't have to talk about like all
Mhm.
those books, but what do you mean by read? How do you guys read as a team?
So we have dedicated time in our schedule. So most people have 30 minutes a day to have that dedicated time to read a book, to watch podcasts, to watch videos, learn the legal terminology. If like you're an associate, watch
And this isn't
empathy
their
videos.
lunchtime, right? This is like a different time.
No, this is
All
paid
right.
30
So how
minutes.
come? All right. Well, I'd like to see the views go up on the Lawyer Stories podcast. So if all your 1,000 employees can like tune into this episode once it's released.
Yes. Can I tell you something really funny, really
Yes.
quick? Side note. So I was looking for content for our associates to watch because I didn't want it to be, like when you go to history class, like the
Yeah. Yeah.
boring, blah, blah, blah. I wanted it to be interesting for them. So I was like calling law firms. I was like, hey, what type of podcast do your attorneys listen to? I got the end call a lot and very confused reactions of why I was calling asking that question.
Yeah.
And so I quickly learned that lawyers like to be paid for their time. So I was going the wrong direction. But at our events, we were asking people, like, what do you listen to? And I'm so glad we stumbled across this because it's a really great resource to give to our associates because we
Great.
want them to be a part of those conversations. So when they hear those calls, not to give legal advice, but just to kind of connect,
Yeah.
what our lawyers are looking for.
I mean,
So
I'm happy
that's how
to come, speak for Lex. I'm happy to do like, speaking engagement. I mean, we could have more
yeah.
people on the podcast. I like you. You guys seem cool.
Yeah.
We're building this little relationship here. All right. So tell us,
Yes.
so you give your employees 30 minutes, not their lunchtime, and they could have like kind of digest some content like legal related or read a book and so like, is this a specific book that you guys like you assigned? This one right here?
So they can pick, but 4,000 Weeks and Impact Players are the two books I would say it's really important for Lex. So 4,000 Weeks, I know the title kind of sounds like it's going to be a long book, but basically it's saying that you
A lot of
only
weeks.
have, yeah, and you only have 4,000 weeks to live.
That's a lot of
And
weeks.
yeah, to me, 4,000 sounds like so little. Only
Oh,
4,000 weeks in your whole life.
oh, in your whole life. Oh, yeah. I didn't mean
Yeah,
it like
your
that.
whole
I didn't mean
life.
it like that. I
Yes.
just
And so
thought I
they,
wasn't thinking about like in their whole life. Sorry. Keep
yeah, so their whole life. And when you think about the service that we offer our clients, it's to give that precious time back to them so that they can take vacations with their family. They can be apart from work for a second. They
I
don't have
love
to
it.
work
Love
24/7.
it.
So that's why
Love it. Yep.
that book is really important. And one thing I loved it in that book, it has an analogy about being stuck in traffic.
Okay.
And they talk about people who honk and they're like, come on, go.
Yeah,
And there's no purpose of honking because it's not going to change the outcome. You're
that's
stuck in
right.
traffic. There's nothing you can do. So what are you going to do with that time?
Yep.
Maybe turn on lawyer stories and listen to Ben.
I
I
mean,
don't
it
know.
is it is a podcast, but yeah,
Yes.
understood.
um,
That's great.
yeah,
So, is this a recommended reading, or you told everybody they got to read it?
this is recommended.
Okay.
We don't like to force anybody to read it. But if you're in leadership, we highly, highly, highly
Got you. I
encourage
got
it
you. Okay.
because that kind of helps us like focus. And the impact players is also a big one for us because those are the type of team members that we're looking for to make light work for others. And if you read that book, you can kind of see who like we hire, and that's kind of how we base our entire culture around
Okay.
being impact players. So those two are really important to us.
Gotcha. So, a couple more things. I think that's really cool. I think that's really important for company culture, especially when like the organization's so big. It's sort of
Yeah.
hard to like reconcile everybody. Everybody's every different places, and to have like books that you sort of have people read and highly, highly, highly recommend. I mean, no, they really. I think it really just when they read it and get through the material, it kind of shows like what you are. You know what I mean? Like so.
Yeah.
So you guys also support wildlife and conservation.
hmm
Um, you donate 1% every month um, for like a bunch of animals and stuff. Like, how much do you know
Yeah.
about that, Skylar?
So it's funny because the last leader that we had was amazing, and I was only a lead at that time. So a lead is just someone who has a couple of associates assigned to them, and they kind of teach them how to take calls and check in with them weekly. And for Lex, we were trying to figure out how we wanted to give back. And I'm a super huge dog fan. I love
I
my
love
dogs so
dogs too.
much.
I do
And I
too,
was like,
for sure.
yeah. And I was like, we should give back to the shelters because it's so sad, like to see the conditions that some dogs are in sometimes. And our Mattering team, took it to that next level. They're like, how about we go global? How about we give all animals? And I was like, yes, I love it. So we kind of started with the Wolf Conservation Center and kind of giving back to those different organizations. So we'll reach out to them all across the globe and see how we can support and kind of like build that relationship with them.
Very cool. Very cool. I mean, you guys are a very thoughtful company. The way you're doing things. Gorilla Doctors, Scottish Wildlife Trust. Oh,
Yep.
maybe that's from Amy right there. She's in Scotland, right?
Yeah,
Sea
those are the
Shepherd
global ones.
Conservative Society, Canadian Polar Bear Habitat. This is amazing. I'd love to see
Yeah.
all these websites actually. So tell us, couple more questions. So why do you, this is sort of one of the questions we could have asked at the beginning, but why lawyers? Why are you all focusing on lawyers?
So I think what's really important is making that human connection, and that's really like the heart of what lawyers do. So we want to offer that service for them as well because your people call lawyers when they're at the most pivotal moments of their life. And it's that first person that they speak to is going to start that relationship and going to build that experience of the firm. And so that's one aspect of it. And the other thing is kind of like I was saying earlier on the small firms, we really love to grow with those companies because we see those challenges that they have really starting up their law firms because they went to school to be a lawyer, not to like manage a business too. And it's tough probably trying to balance both of those. And when we can take a huge burden like off of their plate, we know we're giving them that valuable time back. And what's better to give someone back than time?
Yeah,
So I think
totally.
that's one thing that we really saw was they really do need like someone there to help take those calls because they're so busy.
And that kind of leads into my next question. Like, why is care and empathy so important with Lex Reception?
I think it's really important because whenever you have a bad day, you want to call someone who means something to you. I know whenever something happens to me, like I want to call like someone who's close in my life and tell them what's
Sure.
going on. And when you are going through something maybe that's uncomfortable, you're being charged of something, or maybe someone in your life is going through something really tough, you need to call a lawyer to help them. You don't want to speak to someone who's like, okay, can I have your name, please? Okay,
Yeah,
thanks. Have a
that's. I
great
think
day.
that you know. I think if you teach like one thing, and like the first thing, I mean, that's got to be it. Like, you don't want that, because
Yeah,
I would tell you like that. That would be like my humble advice for anybody doing a job like
yeah,
this. You want to, you're catching these people at like a really humbling and difficult, maybe the worst times,
right.
and they're looking for a lawyer. You don't want somebody who's just going through the motions. And look, that could be hard. You're working a 7, 8 hour shift. You're taking phone call after phone call. You're focused. Who knows? But I think, quality control and you going back and looking at those phone calls and just making sure people are really showing empathy for the
Right.
people calling in. That's so important, I would say, to being able to, get the message to the attorney and the attorney closing and signing up the case.
Yeah. And I remember one of the calls that, I took, and it was really touching for me, but a caller had just been in a domestic violence situation. She had mentioned she was calling and couldn't speak to anyone. And when I answered the phone, she just started crying. And it was so like heart touching because you just want to go like save her and like go get her
Yeah.
and bring her to wherever you need to. And at the end of the call, she's like, thank you for just listening to me and hearing me out because it was the middle of the night. She couldn't speak to anyone. I used to work overnight and
Yeah.
it was really touching. It makes you reevaluate like this is why I love what I do because I got to speak to someone. And a lot of the times maybe it can be hard to understand the answering service, like
Mhm.
sending over messages, but it's really great because some people just need someone to hear them in the
That's
moment.
it.
They need to get it out and they
That's
need
it.
help. And just knowing we can help you and someone's going to come to you, it feels so much better than
That's it.
nothing.
For sure. Um, so where in your role, like where do you see Lex in 5 years?
That's such a tough question. I hope that we are thriving and doing amazing things, but we are really focusing one like on our giving back. How can we do more in that area? How can we build our connections? We're
Yep.
looking at marketing more authentically and through. I know that one thing you bring up a lot is your connection new project that's coming up from Lawyer Stories and being able to go
Yep.
see lawyers in person, like make those human connections with
Yep.
them. And
We're going to
hopefully in
talk
5 years,
about that after the
yeah.
show. Yep. Sorry, I
Yes,
didn't mean to, I didn't
yay.
mean to cut you off. So,
No, yay. I think
yeah.
that's what we're really looking to do is like show people why like our service is like so important, how we can help them, show them like you have this problem, we can help you fix it. And we can really make that connection great. So that's what I'm hoping that we work
Yeah,
towards.
it's
And
such important work, and keep up the good work. Like, congratulations on your promotions and your ascension
yeah.
through the Lex Reception company. Did we leave anything out today, Skylar?
No, I think we covered it.
Okay, good, good.
Yeah.
So stay right there. I think we're set. I think we're good, right?
Yeah.
All right, all right. So stay right there.
Perfect.
Everybody, thanks for tuning in. Skylar Worthington from Lex Reception. A pleasure to talk to you.
You as well. Bye.
Thank you so much. Stay right there, and everybody else, wherever you are in the world today, enjoy yourselves. Cheers.